X-Men 97 had their own panel at New York City Comic-Con event, and while they were there, they spoke a lot about what's going to be happening in Season 2. They showed the Season 2 trailer. They talked about what's going to happen in Season 3. They even hinted about Season 4 and 5. Brad Winderbaum, who's the executive producer for X-Men 97, was also getting interviewed there, and he answered a lot of questions. So we're going to go over everything, and then we'll recap everything that happened at the end of Season 1. Alright, so Apocalypse is apparently going to have a huge role in X-Men 97 Season 2, and if you remember, we saw him at the end of X-Men 97 Season 1, where first he was holding Gambit's card once Gambit passed, and he was like in the rubble in the dirt. And basically that teased like the Horseman of Death when Gambit gets resurrected and he's going to come back alive. It didn't happen that way in the comics. We'll explain that later. They also showed what he's going to be looking like. This is going to be our first look at Apocalypse. They showed this at the New York City Comic-Con event. A peak design. If you guys know who Apocalypse is, like, you can consider him the big bad of the X-Men. You know how there's a big bad of the Justice League and Darkseid. For Marvel and the MCU, at least at bare minimum, it was Thanos. But if you also remember, part of the X-Men crew are separated in different timelines right now, and the people that are in the past, I think it's like Magneto, Beast, Wolverine, Rogue, Nightcrawler. They ran into Apocalypse back then while they're in the past. So it'll be very interesting to see what that looks like with them, if they're going to prevent anything, if they're going to know what's going to be happening in the future. Because he's a problem. They also showed a sneak peek of Polaris being in this as well, Magneto's daughter. They showed like a small clip of her, which I'm pretty sure it's her because I've seen the green hair. And I've been waiting to see like this family together with Magneto, Quicksilver. I wanted to see all these guys together in one show at some point in time. I think this is just like a step closer to seeing that. But from what I've seen from the trailer, I've only seen a little bit of it. They're wearing like the Grant Morrison like X-Men jackets. A lot of people are 50-50 on those, but I personally love these suits. But not only that, they also tease that we're going to be seeing different versions of these characters. We're going to see Scott and Jean's son all grown up again. We're going to see different styles of these characters because they're all represented in the past, present, and the future. Brad Winderbaum also explained that there's going to be a lot of romance in this season, and this is the only thing I'm kind of worried about. And he said, well, Rogue and Magneto are stuck in the past together. They're kind of the past team, and Scott and Jean are in the future along with Storm and Forge. Now, why is that worrisome a little bit? I'm going to be completely honest. I think we all agree that we do not want to see Magneto and Rogue together. Seeing what Rogue was doing in front of Gambit literally made me sick, and I understand that they were together in the comics, and I know that like the whole touching thing is a natural temptation for Rogue, and I understand like why she did it. But to do it in front of Gambit and then Gambit dying and then you wanting him back, and I know this is like a part of like arc and stuff like that, but that was some of the most hardest stuff to watch in such a phenomenal season. I really hope we don't go back to that. The voice actor who plays Rogue explained that they're not going to really be together. They're just going to be there for each other in like this like tough time period while they're stuck in the past. Understandable, but I really hope we don't see any romance between those two at all. But obviously I'm all for the Scott and Jean romance. I hope to see their relationship continue to progress. They're going to see different versions of their sons, because if you know, their whole like kid situation is just so weird. It's from like a future self, and then there was like Madeline Pryor's really Cable's mom, and not really like Jean is not really Cable's mom, and like it's a mess. He also explained that X-Men 97 Season 2 will be very dark, and he says that I'm amazed that Disney greenlit this because a lot of people die. Who in the world is going to be dying in X-Men 97 Season 2? Because you already killed off Gambit, but are you going to be killing one of the main core X-Men groups? That kind of worries me a little bit. We still got multiple seasons to go here, so I don't want them to just like start killing off everybody. I don't know if you guys know about the whole Beau Demayo and like the beef with Kevin Feige, Disney, and the executive producers of X-Men 97, but he got fired for doing weird stuff, obviously, and they kind of talked about that on stage, and Brad Winderbaum said it's actually the entire creative team that's still here. Same directors, same producers, same cast, many of the same writers. The second season feels very much worthy successor of the first season, and that's all I really care about, right? Beau Demayo spoke about the situation as well, and he said, for fans who keep on asking, I had completed all the scripts and most of the animatics for shipping for Season 2. My hope is that you will see most of my vision. Thankfully, the crew has fought hard to protect my work and creative leadership. It's really Season 3 where you'll see a lot of change of the voice of the show, so stay tuned. And he also saw when the trailer got leaked, he explained that 95% of the stuff showed in the trailer was like his stuff. So that's going to basically be his season. For Season 3 also, the people that are doing the What If series are going to be the ones that are working on Season 3. Again, that is very worrying for me. What If was not a good show in my opinion, and X-Men 97 has just been phenomenal, and assuming that season 2 is going to be really good, that's something I'm extremely worried about. And then another weird thing too, somebody asked him about Magic being in season 2, and he said there's no Ileana. Ileana purged on Genosha, which means pretty much unalived. And he's like, my attention was explored with this for Colossus in season 2. We'll see if that stayed. It was also a way to do a version of Legacy, and I can't speak on what those words are, so I have to blur that out. But you mean to tell me that you got rid of Magic so you can explore Colossus instead of just simply being in the same season? That to me makes zero sense. But seeing Magic get out of here off of Genosha when we didn't really see that on screen, that kind of concerns me because I don't want her, like, she's such an important character. And then someone also said, like, I'm firmly convinced he just made this up now so that when season 2 comes out, he can point to it and go and see, they changed my story, my idea, this wasn't my plan. I don't know, that whole drama thing is a mess, but as long as X-Men 97 is good moving forward, that's all I care about. And they also announced that X-Men 97 officially got renewed for season 3 before even season 2 came out, so that is a really, really good sign. And following up right after that, they teased that they're already in discussions about season 4 and season 5. So I'm assuming once they get like scripts or they get the idea of what they want to make this about and the creative team actually, you know, brainstorms about it, that will get renewed as well. So we're talking about years to come of this X-Men 97 stuff, and I think it's going to be like solidified as one of the best comic book projects. And they also announced that this show is going to be coming out yearly moving forward. So skipping this year, we're going to get this show in 2026. We'll get a following season in 2027 and 28 and 29. It's going to be continuous seasons. And I think they said it's the same thing for Friendly Neighborhood Spider-Man as well. Very similar to how Invincible is right now, where it's coming out yearly. It's going to be the same thing for these shows. All right, so back to the Gambit resurrection thing, because I want to kind of explain this. So in the comic books, he didn't die. The Gambit dying is not really like his thing. In the comic books, he like kind of volunteered to be like a herald of apocalypse because he wanted to like use that power, and then like if he had to, it would be to get rid of Apocalypse himself. He wasn't really like thinking like that. And then Apocalypse was like, no, brother, like as soon as you try to be a herald, you get brainwashed, basically. And I'll order you to go hurt your people, hurt your friends, hurt the X-Men, things like that. So basically Gambit went along with his plan thinking that it was going to work for him, and Apocalypse decided to follow through with it once it was too late. And Gambit turned into the Horseman of Death. That was like his new name. And he tried to make him like fight Rogue, and like it became like this whole like fighting brain thing. He didn't really get brainwashed, but then he did, and it ended up fixing itself later on. The storyline really wasn't that good, to be honest with you. But this has a much better chance of being a good story because Gambit dying the way he did, he went out like a real G. It's Gambit, remember it. Fighting to protect his people, and then bringing him back as a Horseman of Apocalypse, and mainly being fully brainwashed would be cool. And then somehow finding a way to actually make him resurrected without being a Horseman, and to have him and Rogue back together again. That would be pure cinema. I've never been a huge fan of like unaliving characters and then bringing them back to life, and then like it defeats the purpose. But the way Gambit's was, it happened so quick in the first season, and I feel like this whole Rogue and Magneto thing was like a huge mess, and I feel like this would be like the majority way to fix it. If you want to see Rogue in her spot, her and Gambit are so like seamless together. Like that has to be something that works. We have to be able to see that longer. For example, like Rogue isn't even able to touch Gambit at this point in time, but in the comics, she's been able to touch Gambit and stuff for like years now. You know what I'm saying? We need to see them together for a lot longer. For the most part, that's all they gave us. It's really hard. I really wish I could just show the trailer on here. I showed some stuff of it earlier, but the trailer looked insane from what I've seen. I didn't want to watch the whole thing and just get spoiled. But the whole like past, present, and future thing is just such a good idea, and I think this will be a really successful season. But in terms of X-Men 97 Season 2, I think it's going to be just fine. I just hope they set themselves up for success for season 3 when you are transitioning into a new team. I hope this is going to be an ending that you can lead us with a new villain or something that's going to be a real cliffhanger so you can have the anticipation still be there. But that's pretty much everything they announced at New York City Comic Con. When there is going to be more news and stuff, that's when I'll make more videos. So if you're new here, please subscribe and follow. Turn on the notifications because I will be coming out every single time there is news. And remember to use the new hype feature and to like the video. That does a lot for me. It pushes this video out to others. You can follow me on my other social platforms. I post on TikTok every single day. Same thing with Instagram. But that'll be it for today, y'all. I'll catch y'all in the next one.